In prior segments, we've shown you examples of human trafficking in Hawaii. Young women who are forced into prostitution, immigrant farm workers who could not earn enough to pay off recruitment fees and were separated from their families for years. But this next story is even harder to watch because it involves a mother and her teenage daughter. These two brave women testified before state legislators on the need for stronger laws and education programs to put a halt to human trafficking. We can't show you their faces because the criminals who made this teenager walk the streets of Waikiki are still out there, preying on other young girls.
For 4 months of this year, I believed my daughter to be a runaway. When we got her back, we found out that in actuality, and this actually took months of therapy and treatment, to find out that she had been recruited and she was raped and beaten into submission. So she was broken mentally and emotionally and physically, and she was made to believe that we were in danger also. She suffers nightly nightmares. This is the one moment as a mom that I can take this horrible experience and try to make it positive down the line for everybody else's little girls. You walk through Waikiki and you're like, it's beautiful, it's paradise. My daughter walked those streets as a slave. We won't even go there anymore as a family. She saw someone that was a part of that life, incidentally in a store, a regular grocery store. And she was shaking beyond belief and crying, and I had to figure out as a mom what was the problem. She can't go through everyday life that's scared. Our children need to know that these people are out there, that it could be their best friend, it could be their cousin, it could be anybody ready to prey on them. I thought she was a runaway. The police thought she was a runaway the whole time. She was being held captive and she was being hurt. She was being treated in the way none of us could ever imagine. Our worst enemy being treated. And it was my baby. As far as the professional community goes, I actually had a professional ask my daughter, are you sure you didn't enjoy it while he was raping you? As far as funding, we received just one bill so far of $52,000 for a treatment facility in which my daughter received little to no help.
Psychologist Judy Okawa also spoke to the committee about the critical need for treatment services for victims of trafficking. She has done extensive work with survivors of torture and severe trauma.
Children are also forced to witness others be abused, raped, even tortured, and then they learn quickly that similar abuses or even death can result if they do not comply with what they're told to do. I do recommend, number one, that you develop a statewide plan to ensure that victims of human trafficking can be referred for appropriate medical, psychological, and case management care. Number two, children have exceptional needs because of the age at which they're traumatized. So please develop a statewide plan to address child victims and ensure that they're provided access to treatment by licensed, trained people. And finally, to train judges, prosecutors, police, and other government authorities on the impact of human trafficking on the individual's medical and psychological health.
James Dold flew in from Washington, D.C. to testify at a special state legislature hearing on the need for stronger policies to prevent the spread of human trafficking in Hawaii.
There's a lot of legislation that's still lacking, specifically on the victim services side. So in order to create a truly comprehensive legal framework where we focus on prosecuting traffickers, protecting victims, and prevention of human trafficking, we need to follow up on that backside, making sure that we have services for victims in place, that we're not prosecuting minors who are being exploited through prostitution, that victims of sex trafficking have the ability to remove unjust convictions from their records once they've been found to be a victim of sex trafficking. You know, we're not just talking about forms of physical violence, we're talking about children who typically come from broken homes or disadvantaged backgrounds, who run away or are vulnerable and for a number of other reasons, and they're looking for someone to love them, they're looking for someone to care and to understand. And what these traffickers do is they turn that against these children, and they use their own love against them to psychologically and emotionally enslave them, to get them to go out and engage in commercial sex. And there is nothing more sad than the idea that the most beautiful thing that we have as human beings, love, is used against us to get us to do the bidding of others for profit. And I think it's in that recognition that, you know, I do what I do every day, the people at my organization do what they do every day, and generally across the spectrum, people are engaged in this movement to end modern-day slavery.
And it starts with education. As one advocate explained, we have to give our children the tools and information they need to recognize human trafficking so they know how to respond to these situations. To find out more about this important subject, visit the 808halt.com website, where you'll find links to local organizations that can assist possible victims. The Pacific Gateway Center also has translators from many languages if they cannot speak English.